Good morning, and thank you for tuning in. My name is Carissa Deshays, and this is my weekly podcast, Faith Over Fear. I'm so grateful and I'm so blessed. I have Key Norful here with me. Key, how you doing?
I'm doing well, and I'm so happy to be here. It's been a while, and we've been putting this in the making, so I'm glad we can make it happen.
Absolutely, absolutely. And for anybody that doesn't know Key, he has the Nation1Luv podcast. How long have you been doing that for?
I've been doing the Nation One Love podcast since January 2022, just about 3 years. But I've been doing podcasts ever since I could record them and upload them online. So maybe about 2010, 2011, you know what I mean?
That's amazing. And what really inspired you to become a content creator? What was the inspiration behind starting your platform?
Well, I can kind of see the shift going to, internet based from more of the street based. Because when I first started with music, we would have to put in a lot of footwork. And then there was like Napster, things that was taking our music and making it easy to generate online. So I kind of saw the shift happening. So I wanted to be ahead of the game.
That's amazing. And how long were you doing music for? Are you still currently doing music?
I'll do music probably for the rest of my life. I just have a song inside of me and it just changes daily. So I've been doing music professionally since 1998.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And what type of genre, what type of music do you do?
Well, I started off, rap, hip hop rap. I did a album with Lil Flip while featured on his album, his first platinum album. That's what got me a little bit of recognition. And I just been going strong from there. But I've switched to a more business role, should I say? Since I've been doing it so long, I like to grab up and coming artists who from my lineage for say to make sure that they don't make the same mistakes that I made.
I think that's really beautiful, and that's one of the things. And I feel like as content creators, we have that responsibility, especially when. And I just want to say also, congratulations on all your success. I know it's not easy. I know it takes a lot of determination and consistency and hardships, and there's probably moments I can speak for myself, but where you're am I going on the right path? Is this the right purpose for me? Because it's challenging, and I think a lot of times people can kind of want that instant gratification
Yeah.
and they don't want to have to make it hard for themselves. But what I've realized is that things that are good for us in lives, and when we find our passion, it's what leads us to our purpose. So I love that you do music. I did music my whole life too. I started singing when I was a kid. I actually would like to get back into recording because my soul's calling me to it. But so, being a inspiration, like you were saying, to the youth and to the people to kind of make a way so that they don't have to go through the things that you went through. So what is some of your story? Did you grow up? Where are you from?
I'm from Pine Bluff, Arkansas. I'm a country boy, with big city dreams. So I started traveling early. I set in an entrepreneur mindset early so I can really learn the game. Like JT the bigger figure, shout out to my bro JT the bigger figure. Him and Master P kind of gave me the blueprint to my mindset of how I wanted to brand and operate my brand. So, I'm from Pine Bluff, Arkansas. I've traveled nationwide throughout the country though, ever since '98 professionally, like I said.
That's amazing. What do you think is the best place that you've been to, having that opportunity to be able to travel and network with people?
I would have to have two places. I would have to say Texas and New England, actually.
So you still travel on a daily basis? You're traveling often?
Yeah. I've been consistently traveling ever since '98. It's been nonstop. I may take like a year off or two off or something like that, but I travel consistently. I have a family throughout the country. I'm also into nonprofit, also, community organizing. I have my own businesses and stuff like that. So I kind of kill as many birds as I can with the same stone. Just put everything together to make it all make sense, if that makes sense.
So what other businesses do you have? So I know you have your podcast, you're doing music, and then what other type of businesses do you have as an entrepreneur?
I've done a car business in the past. I'm no longer affiliated with that partner. I've been into farming for the last 3 years. I've been farming. I'm a registered farmer with the USDA.
That's amazing.
Appreciate you.
I love that.
Farming just brings me like a sense of comfortability. It helps with my blood pressure. I like creating things, and when I'm plants, especially when I start them off, it's like I'm creating my own little world. So that's kind of dope to me. I got a liquidation business. Then I got my management company on the same management company.
So, when you're traveling to different places, is it more or less like networking, or is it to expand your business? Like, what does that look like for you?
Like I said, I am the brand, and it's a lifestyle. Not so much of a brand, but a lifestyle. So I'm always working, I'm always networking, I'm always visiting family. I'm doing everything all at the same time. Like I said, I got my marketing company where I sell products with AT&T, DirecTV, Spectrum. I got the nonprofit. We do basketball tournaments in the summer for the kids. We do backpack drives. We do toy giveaways every year. So I keep busy and traveling so that I can network at the same time.
I love that because I know that you said, like, being like a mentor for the youth and really having, giving them somebody to look up to, because I feel like that's a lot of, the issues is that sometimes it can almost be like that power trip. So when they're going to people, it's almost like overpowering. But when you can see them for who they are, and recognize maybe like yourself in them and kind of be able to give them, a different structure as to maybe something you didn't have or something they're not getting at home. Like, I love that you're doing that. I'm really big on giving back to the community as well. And so having that entrepreneur mindset, because we live in a society that basically tells us what we should and shouldn't do, and it's like, okay, go to school, go to college, get a degree, get a 9 to 5 job, you're gonna do great and you're gonna function. But I feel like, one of the things that I've talked to people about is that, like, when you're a kid, you have this dream, whether it's like, mom, I want to be a singer, mom, I want to be an NBA player, mom, I want to, own my own business. And then what happens, I think, is that we get so caught up in like the reality of the society that was created for us that we lose track of who we really are. And so it's really beautiful to see people like yourself that can break out of that matrix
Yeah.
and really fight for what it is that they believe in. So, growing up, you said you always had the entrepreneur mindset. Like, did you always know what it is that you wanted to do, or did you just feel like within your soul that no matter what I do, I need to create? Like, I need to be an independent person? Like, how was that process for you?
Well, it was exactly that. I always knew, but there's this saying that everyone can't go. So I would develop relationships, um, whether they be um, intimate relationships or business relationships. I kind of feel like I want to bring everybody with me. So I've always known, I've always had this drive, I've always had this spark. But I found that relationships along the way, for whatever regular reasons, those people will veer off, whether they're trying to just duplicate what you guys are doing, or they just don't want to see you make it really. There's different reasons why relationships don't last, and some people are only here for a season, and some people are there for a reason. It's just up to you to be able to discern properly someone's purpose in your life. So I was having a hard time establishing that. I wanted things to be the way that I wanted them to be. So I would always have these inconsistencies in dealing with personal situations with people. But once I start to focus on myself, and I don't know how people feel about higher power or God, whether you call God your higher self or the creator. I believe in the creator. Once I just kept my mind focused on, being compatible with life and nature and the creator. And once I stopped chasing and attracting, things start to happen a lot different for me.
I was gonna say, and that was my next question for you, because I identify with that. Do you feel like when you were able to accept, I guess, like what the creator's purpose was for you, and you were able to have more peace with maybe like understanding that, like you said, everyone coming into your life is a lesson or a blessing. And even if it's a lesson, there's still a blessing in that because we learn something from that. So once you're able to, I guess, have that acceptance with your creator, God, like I said, whoever it is that you believe in, do you feel that once you almost like release those attachments of holding within your self will, is that when you feel that you become blessed, meaning like you just get kind of like abundantly, like life starts happening the way that it's supposed to when you're able to accept letting go of those attachments?
That's exactly what it is. You have to detach because when you're born, as soon as you come out of your mother's womb, you're under arrest. They hit you with the
Right.
bright lights. They take you to another room with all the rest of the incarcerated babies. They get your fingerprint, footprint. They give you a number. So you have to detach because we're kind of attached hook, line, and sinkers at birth. You know what I mean? So we have to detach and understand that we're not in control and no one else is in control. What you Reese's purses, like you could be running from a dog the whole time. This dog just keeping you in shape. This dog just keeping you fit. You're looking back for the dog and you turn around and you bust your head on a tree and the dog don't do nothing but lick that knot on your head and try to see if you all right. So what you running from gonna always be in front of you until you just face you got to go through it to get to it. So once I mastered it and learned that, I could stop trying to chase things and start chasing things. Everything start to level out a lot smoother for me.
I think that's really beautiful, and I think, like, people don't like feeling uncomfortable. Like, even for me, when I was going through like my active addiction and my homelessness and like all these different things and holding on to toxic relationships, I always say to people, I'm like, it was uncomfortably comfortable because I was used to the lifestyle that I was living. So when I had to make that change to become better and to let go of, basically unlearn everything I thought I knew, it was scary. And so, like you said, which I love that analogy, I've heard that, but like basically being prisoners since birth, which is so true. I actually also work for a reentry program, like outside of the podcast and the work that I do. And one of the big things that we talk about is basically, they say that like slavery's dead in America, but it's not. And so there's still slavery happening inside of the, incarceration facilities due to, people working and getting paid very minimum. There's still slavery in a sense of, having that program of telling people to work a 9 to 5 job and that you're going to be free. But the real freedom comes within your spirit. And so it's a really, really hard thing to change. And even like for me starting this podcast 2 years ago, like I was nervous, and even still I get nervous and I'm like, what am I going to say? What am I, am I going to, but then I'm like, you know what? It's just a normal conversation. Like you and I are just having a normal conversation. It's almost like we're at a diner having coffee and just talking and getting to know each other. And so when I have that ideology behind it, all that fear is like gone, and I'm not in my head over analyzing certain situations that I really don't have control over. And so I love the process that you're on. I think it's amazing, and again, I know it takes like such hard work to get there. I guess if there's something that maybe you could tell somebody that is having that thought of wanting to be free, that wants to be an entrepreneur but is struggling with that first step, like what are some of the steps that you would advise somebody to get there, to
Um,
have freedom within themselves?
First, I want to say, even though slavery does exist, it doesn't exist to me because I know who I am. I'm free. So slavery is a choice.
Absolutely.
And it's up to us to know thyself. Once you know yourself, you can no longer be equipped to be a slave for another man. I think in America, I think slavery is just proclaimed and a stature set as far as skin color and things of that nature. But there's mental slavery going on right now in this country. And there's a lot more people who are slaves. If they only knew that they were slaves, maybe they would want to be free. You know what I'm saying? So, I was just my advice to someone who wants to overcome it. Just gain knowledge of self. Find a good balance of mind, body, and soul. Once you got your perfect balance with mind, body, and soul, you can be able to manifest your reality. You know, your mind shouldn't be imprinted with all the TV commercials and all those things of that nature. You know what I mean? You should be able to go to sleep with a good conscience on, and I apologize for that noise. I'm gonna walk away. No, we should be able to go to sleep at night, and our minds are like a drawing pad. So we should be going to sleep with intentions and, placing your wants and your needs inside of your dreams on that drawing pad, to kind of create your reality for when we wake up tomorrow. But we're doing the total opposite. So I think once we can perfect the power of manifestation, I think a lot of people's dreams and goals that they set will start falling in line and in place to where they want them to be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love that you talked about that too, like the power of your mind, because There was a there was a book that I was reading. My dad was super into like World War II and history and all these things. He wanted to be a history teacher, and there was a person that went through the Holocaust. And actually, my nana, she's 87, she was alive during that time. She went through the Depression and everything. And one conversation we had is during that time, having that freedom in your mind. So it doesn't matter what anybody's doing to you. It doesn't matter, whether you're, regardless of your, I guess, external space, if you have that freedom in your mind, you're almost untouchable. And the human condition can be really hard. And like you said, waking up in the news, like watching the news 24/7, like getting caught up in all the propaganda. And one thing I tell people, the podcast is called Faith Over Fear, but anytime you watch the news, it's always so negative because fear sells. And so they might have something like, oh yeah, this happened, this is positive, and then it goes right back into it. But my thing is, like you said, there's so many good people in the world. There's so many people that are full of love and, abundance and are trying to make a change. So if you're constantly focused on the negative, which again can be a really easy thing, misery loves company, right? But when you start breaking yourself out of that and limiting your time on social media, and to be honest with you, if I didn't have a podcast and I wasn't networking as much as I am, I would not have social media. I went probably like a year, 2 years without it. The only thing I had was Snapchat, and I didn't have TikTok, I didn't have Facebook, I didn't have Instagram. And I definitely detoxed at first when I got rid of it because I was so used to being like, oh, notification. But let me tell you something, like I felt so peaceful after a while, just so peaceful, not having that instant like gratification, that dopamine release, not having people having access to me. So one thing that I try to balance in my life today, where I do the work that I'm doing, is, for instance, like I shut my messenger notifications off, so I go on when I'm able to, so I have that control and I'm able to limit that. I don't hop on my phone right when I wake up in the morning. I take like an hour, hour and a half to ground myself, whether it's having coffee. I do my prayer, I do my meditation, because I noticed if I wake up and the first thing I do, let's say the kids are up and they're like, mommy, 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 and I'm like, okay, I'm awake. And then I'm like, all right, I have these, like that sets your whole tone for the day. Like your first hour to 2 hours of how you wake up sets your whole tone for the day, and then it becomes a ripple effect. And so if I'm like living in chaos and I'm waking up and I'm like, oh, I gotta get the kids to school, I'm late, oh, my alarm's going off, oh my gosh, this person's calling me 20 times, like
Right.
next thing you know, I'm driving and I got road rage and I'm like, come on, let's go.
Snowball effect.
It's
Snowball effect.
right. So yeah, self-care is super important. And obviously you said, you're very like grounded and like about balance, and which I love. So what are some things that you incorporate in your life to do self-care to make sure you're able to take care of your mind, body, and soul?
Well, it's kind of funny, but what you just mentioned, my first hours of the day are for me and me only. My last hours of the day are for me and me only. And now, I let my cell phone actually broke, so I got a whole new line with a cell phone number on it. But when it broke and I didn't get it fixed, I start seeing the relief of not being able to be, contacted, or because people will try to control you with
I know.
how they can use you. A lot of times it's not even a genuine connection. So you got to be careful of energy vampires because they come in all shapes, sizes, colors, genders, and different intentions. People steal your energy. Your energy is the most. We know that because we go to work to give them our energy, and they give us dollars, notes, legal tender for our energy, for our currency. You know what I mean? So once we can realize that, I don't think people would. That's slavery, giving your energy because you're a battery. We're all batteries. We nine equal batteries, and that we're generating this whole so-called plane net, what I call it. You know what I mean? We're generating the energy for this thing and we don't even know it. They got us looking for a false perception of power, which everybody's chasing a bag. But as we're chasing a bag, we're slowly going into the bag. We're going into the net. So we got to stop following the algorithm. Al means from or of. Gory is like horror or evil or bloody. And rhythm is a song. So we dancing with the devil while we looking for heaven on earth, and it ain't gonna never work out that way. So we gotta really find knowledge of self. We have to overcome these traps and snares that's being set by the oppressor. We have to stop. thinking that there are individual races. There's only one race, and that's the human race. And we should all start running together so we can beat the whole game and flip the monopoly board over, and the power will go back to the people.
Amen. Amen. And I feel like too, like you said it, if we all came together and again going back to society and I feel like you totally we sound similar in that way, like when you stop looking at religion and politics and all these things that are created to divide us and separate us. And I mean, I've seen people, one thing I don't like talking about with people is religion and politics. I mean, I used to be a waitress for 17 years and I would see people like at the bar getting into it because one person's a Republican, one person's a Democrat, and these are two strangers that don't even know each other, but they're like ready to fight, and we're like, yo, you gotta get out, like you guys can't be doing this here.
Right.
And I'm just thinking to myself, and I see that, and my thought when I saw that was like, where's the freedom? Like, where is your freedom, and what is your truth, or is your truth based on opinions of other people? And so sometimes when we get so caught up in all these life worldly things, right, like, because realistically speaking, and like after I lost my dad a couple years ago and I lost my grandma in December, and so those were like two of the closest people to me, and it was a very bittersweet experience in a sense because I was able to be there for them. I was able to show up for them in the moments that they needed me, which I'm very grateful for. But obviously, like, any transitional time in your life that you're feeling separated from somebody in that way, even though they're, in a better place, like, it's difficult to deal with. But after I had those two life experiences, it really gave me a different sense of belonging in this world because I feel like it's so easy to get caught up in all the stuff that's happening, but we're here for such a temporary time. Like every day we wake up, and I'm not saying like I hope this happens, but tomorrow I could walk outside and something could happen, and I hope that I live a long and fruitful life, and you too. And but every day we wake up's a blessing, and so like you said, chasing the bag, like I did that for a long time. Like money was, well, I gotta work, I gotta do this, but I was always so stressed out, and so obviously money's an energy that we need in order to be able to make our basic needs. But someone told me one time, they were like, if you follow your passion, like not only are you going to find your purpose, but if you chase the money, you're going to be disappointed every time. If you chase your passion, the money's going to come.
Yeah. Yeah, that's when I'm chasing money, I'm getting money in small increments and it's taking all of my energy. Once I stop chasing the money, I won't see money for a while, but when it comes, it comes. I put myself in the money seat. Put yourself in the money seat and you can't help but catch the money when it comes through. Get in the path of the money instead of chasing the money on the path. We want to work harder, smarter, and not harder. You know what I mean? The law of you gotta attract, not chase, is what I like to tell people. So once we calm down, we don't know that our thoughts, we're predicting our own reality here. We can't confuse the universe. We can't want to do something, but true deep down inside, we don't believe it's even gonna happen. So we're kind of confusing the universe. The universe is like, do you want it or do you not? You know what I mean? So once we can master self and really fall out of the matrix, then I believe we'll be able to manipulate the game the way we're supposed to.
Absolutely. Well, like you said, everything's energy. So even if like with our words we can be speaking something, that energy, that flow, let's say you see somebody, you got a resentment. Let's say you haven't healed from that. All of a sudden you see that person, you get that feeling. You get that feeling. Yet you're saying you forgive them, but you're still getting that feeling.
Right.
Have you really forgiven that person? You know what I mean? So it's almost like even though you're speaking it, that internal energy is so powerful, and people I don't think realize that. And I mean, everything that you see in the world, the trees, everything around us is an energy. And then you were talking about the energy vampires, the people around you, like it's a real thing. It's a real thing. And I used to get confused because I'd come home and I'd call my girl and I'd be like, I'm so emotionally drained, I'm so tired. And she's like, it could be other people's energy that you're picking up on. She's like, every person that's in your life, sometimes there's that energy exchange, whether it's through your job or certain people you're having around you. Like even in my own personal life, like I'm very careful now who I speak to. I don't allow people in my home. I'm very private when it comes to my home. I used to, not at this location, but one of the places I lived, I've had people over all the time just because I love being around people. I'd host people, we'd have dinners. And then what I started realizing was that I was feeling exhausted all the time. Like I would get emotional. I didn't understand where it was coming from. And one of my friends had a conversation with me. She's like, listen, I love you. She's like, but if you're going to meet up with a lot of people, especially people you don't know that well, I would have them either meet at a remote location. She's like, you need to be very mindful as to who you're allowing into your home, especially where you have your kids and yourself, because that needs to be your safe haven that you can go home and unwind to.
Right. Right.
And people don't realize that.
Yeah. Yeah. People come to, you know, it's all about energy. They want to control the energy. They want to cipher the energy. You could be like motivation for somebody else. So somebody could say, oh, she's pretty. So it could be a chick who so-called looks up to you or whatever, but they're using your energy to be around you, just how your energy and how people attract to you. Like they're trying to body swap with you. You know what I mean? So we got to understand that our astral body is our soul body. So those things that's been passed down, this is your astral body. This is your soul body to where, things from your family, all that type of things are stored there. So then you got your ether body, which is your mind, the things that you probably been through. Like a lot of women have had things happen to them as children. A lot of breakups, maybe a domestic relationship or something. These things become misplaced anxiety, and they become dim spots, dim ones, or demons. So demons are created inside of these bodies that we have no knowledge of because we're looking at our physical body. When we talk, when we speak, we're speaking things into physical existence from this body. But then when we think, we're bringing things into existence on our ether body. You know what I'm saying? But when we feel, we're bringing things together on our astral body. That's why you can always see dead relatives when you sleep because you feel them. When you think things, they go into your ether body. That's connected with the ether. That's mind, spirit. So when we speak, we start to speak things into existence that can happen to us physically. So if we can keep in mind about thinking in our ether body, feeling with our astral body, and speaking with our physical body, we can start kind of put things in order a little bit and be able to take care of these other two bodies as well as this meat suit that we in.
I was gonna say, so what are some things that, because I feel like the power of the word is so, and when I say the power of the word, like the way that we speak, like I feel like our eyes are the mirror to our soul. Okay, what we listen to is also a entryway to our soul, and how we speak. I don't want to refer to it as a spell, but for instance, like our power of our tongue is so powerful, and so even if you're gossiping about somebody else, right, like that can be an energetic pull that's going towards that person. Like if we're there's a book that I read. It's called Angel Words, and basically what it is, it's a really simple read. It's actually more like a guide, but it talks about how when we speak negatively, whether it's about ourselves, whether it's about somebody else, or we can maybe say like, oh, I'm such a failure, but we say I'm so proud of ourselves. It takes more of a vibrational toll on our body to speak negatively than it does to say something as simple of I forgive you, I love you. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of me. But when you start saying, I hate you, I'm this, like, that is such a low vibration and it takes so much of our energy. Like, it showed the amount of vibration on the actual page of it. And it's crazy, you know? It's just, you start realizing certain things. And I mean, being human, it's difficult. There's human conditions, right? Like judgment, all these things. But I think it's important to be mindful. And when you find yourself starting to get into maybe old character defects or behaviors, just to really, I always tell somebody, if you're trying to be a better human every day, like, God bless you. Because, the world isn't easy and life isn't easy, but it is a beautiful journey. And, protecting your energy is huge. I mean, I think it can be really confusing for people. It was confusing for me for a really long time because I'm like, how do I separate my energy with somebody else? So, obviously you being a spiritual person and your growth is incredible. Like, what are some, like, how do you protect your energy? Like, how can you separate your energy when you're around certain people? Like, what are some things that you do to do that?
It's very important to not be mesmerized. We take deep, we think we supposed to look people in the eyes, but we got to look, everything we do got to be with intent. So I don't let people touch me, and they may seem rude to some people, but I got to protect my energy. Every time somebody tap you, they tap in your energy.
So
People,
you don't hug everybody you meet. You're not gonna be
no,
like a hugger for people.
no.
No.
I can feel it. So I know if I want to give my energy to someone, then I hug them. Like if it's a child or something, or if it's an elderly person who may be down on their strength, I hug with intent. You know, it's about
And
the
when you're talking about like eye contact, because I'll tell you something in a minute, but when you're talking about eye contact, you're saying if you're having a conversation with somebody and you may be feeling like their energy is just super low, or maybe there's like just a negative vibe you're getting from them, maybe envy, maybe jealousy, like you're not gonna look that person in the eye.
no, because I'm not gonna. Everything's on the tip. So we get this thing about being cordial and things like that. No, if someone says something, I'll rebuke it right there. Nah, I'm not gonna take that. I'm not what you think I am. You're what you think I am.
So do you like Michael Jackson?
Yeah, I like some of his music. I
Yeah,
just
Michael Jackson.
yeah, I just try not to have any idols, which is I get a lot of backlash for, but I do like a lot of Michael Jackson music.
Yeah, I mean, not even in a sense of like having an idol, just more or less like musically. The reason I was asking is because I watched an interview on him, and I grew up in like a really musical household. So my dad had basically every album that you could think of, from like Alicia Keys to Michael Jackson to Frank Sinatra, the Bee Gees, like Queen, Kiss, like every. My dad had just had a genre of music. Diana Ross, right? So I grew up really diverse when it came to music. But I watched an interview on Michael Jackson, and this guy asked them, they're like, "Can we ask you something?" And he's like, Michael, he's like so sweet and like so soft spoken. He's like, "Yes." And they're like, "Why do you always wear glasses?" And he says, "Do you really want to know why?" And they're like, "Yeah, why do you always have your sunglasses on?" He's like, "Because I don't want everybody seeing inside my soul."
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
always remember that. And then I was inspired. I'm like, maybe I'll start wearing glasses 24/7. But I always remembered that, and that always stuck with me. And so, but then I'm like, with the work that I do with trauma work and reentry and working in recovery, one thing that we learn is like eye contact is out of respect, right? So we want to like maintain that eye contact, and depending on who you're speaking to, if they have past traumas or they've been formerly incarcerated, whatever that looks like. Sometimes if you're like back and forth, that can almost be like a way of like disrespect for some people. But I do also try to be mindful, like if I'm in a room or there's a female or a male that I just get very uncomfortable, like I try to pull away faster, and I'm not going to maintain that eye contact with you, because I
yeah.
agree exactly with what you're saying. It's almost just like if I'm staring at you and you're like envious, or you're sending some type of, and you may not even be aware of it, but I can sense that. We all have intuition
Right.
as people.
Yeah.
We all have intuition.
I'm sorry. It's a spiritual war going on outside, so I can't allow signs of respect or what the world thinks to interfere with me on the battlefield. You know what I mean? So at all times, I got my sword out when it comes to spiritualness, and that's what it is. Energy, certain energies that people have. I pick up on the energy. Like people be talking, they sound like Charlie Brown to me. I be on the energy. I don't think, I feel, because a thinking man can't get his way out of a dark room and put the lights out because he ain't gonna be able to see or feel. You see what I'm saying? So, it's to keep it simple, and a lot of people put in traps and snares so that those powers that be can always keep their power. So they say things like, "Oh, eye contact is a sign of respect." I came up with that. Like I lost a lot of jobs. I wasn't really able to be controlled. They can see. There's certain things that authoritative powers have placed and set, and they see who to bring up next. And I know who I am, and I'm not Key. They call me Key. I know who I was when I came out of the womb, and that's who I still am. Infinite energy never dies. So once we can understand that, we can start to understand, to understand not only what we are, but who we are. And once we understand to understand that, the rest of the world can't do nothing but respect it. Because when I went to the USDA, I didn't let them tell me who I was. There's already a narrative, an African American narrative. I went in there and I told them who I was, and they wrote it down on paper. You know what I mean? I think people perish for a lack of knowledge, and I think that once we can restore balance of mind, body, and soul, it's gonna free a lot of people. And that's my agenda out here. I do have an agenda. It's just a good one. And I just want to help restore balance of mind, body, and soul so that people can be free. with knowledge of self.
That's really beautiful. And I love that, like I said, I love that you're doing that. And, just by the work that you're doing and the inspiration that you're giving people and, staying true to who you are, like that in itself, like people see that. And whether or not people are always watching, and whether or not you post something and it may get, our value doesn't come from likes, right? Our value doesn't come from likes on Facebook. People are always watching even if they don't say it, because, and I know that because I'll post something and I may get 5 likes, but I'll have like 600 views, 700 views, right?
Right.
So I know people are watching what I have to say, and that's okay. That's at their own discretion. And maybe it hit a message that someone needed to hear. And so, the inspiration that you're doing and just having that, being authentic within yourself, like that in itself is gonna allow people, even if they may not tell you or come to you, or maybe they will, that hope that they can do it too, because not everybody's going to speak on it, but everybody, like I said, gets so caught up in like what's trending, what's trending, what's trending. I mean, look at TikTok, look at all the reels. I love TikTok. I've learned a lot from TikTok. I learned a lot of history within 2 minutes on TikTok. I've seen what's going on in the world. I can look up anything and learn the information really quickly, which is really cool. So every social media platform, I believe, even technology, AI, all these things, it always has a positive and there's always going to be a negative. It's always going to be a double-edged sword when it comes to any type of thing like that. But the world is based on right now like what's trending, what's trending, what's trending, what's trending, what's trending, and it's like I think it's important to debrief. I mean, I miss the old school days. Like I grew up, I had a house phone. It was the ones that had like the little dial thing on it that you couldn't even like take off the wall, and then people left, and then they had the new ones that came out that had the system that people could leave a voicemail. But I remember like my parents letting me go out on my bike, and they would just like be home when the streetlights are on, and I'd go hang out with my friends, and I'd have to come home, or I'd have to be home 5:30 for dinner. And there was just a different, I feel like my parents didn't worry about us like that. Like they did, I'm sure, but they'd let us just ride around, and we'd come home, and if people wanted to talk to you, they'd leave you a voice message.
Yeah.
They leave you a voicemail like, hey, like it's mom, I'm just calling, I love you, give me a call when you can, like, hey, is Carissa there? And you'd return that phone call when you can. And so these phones, like, they're great. I think it's connected a lot of people. I think it's also disconnected a lot of people, in a sense of like it's connected us to be able to, for instance, like me meeting you, and I'm having this conversation with you, and you're not even in the state right now, right? So like we're having this conversation. It's dope. I love that. It's beautiful. But then it also has that disconnection of maybe being present. And I went to the beach last weekend with my kids, and I was looking around, and it was such a beautiful day. It was sunny, the water was freezing, but it's okay. And I was just sitting there kind of in like a meditative state, and I was watching people, and there were so many people that were there, but this is them.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? Like why? Like why?
It's because those are another representation of those fallen angels, fallen angels of light. And like we talk about these phones, these are mirrors too. What they doing is sucking our energy. If you watch Poltergeist when we were kids, you saw the kids watching the TV, but the TV was sucking into the TV. That's what it's doing. This is a part of spiritual warfare, so it's best to have knowledge of self and to know what's going on. That way you can handle these phones, computers, social media. That way you'll be able to handle it all and be able to do it in moderation and be able to use it. Because, there's nothing wrong with being in the world, but not of it. So we have to understand how to operate in the spirit, in the body. You know what I mean? So, like I said, it's all about balance because there are some things that we can do with this technology, but the ultimate goal is for man to move the machine. That's what the people who not like us, that's what their goal is to do. That's why there's this AI generated mind. You know what I mean? That we look up to Chat GTP, Google.
How do you
Google.
feel about all those things? Like, how do you feel about ChatGPT and AI? Like, what is your view on that?
I don't get involved with it. I don't do nothing with Chat. I've never used it. You know what I mean? My view on it is it's trying to copy us. They doing another bait and switch technique because at the end of the day, their whole thing is to merge man with machine. They want man's mind to be more video gamey and they want machines to be more man. So we're in a point of our reality now. The reason that we're able to even get to G and all that is because the earth is like a pregnant mama. She about to get ready to pop in a minute, so there's more bands on the expansion on her belly. She went from her 4th month to her 5th month to her 6th month. Now there's more bandwidth in the ether. So that's why they keep expanding. They understand this. That's why they show you the rainbow and everything, but they perverted the rainbow and not use the rainbow in its sacred essence. The rainbow signifies the chakra layers of not only our bodies and our souls, but also of the universe. But they've turned the rainbow upside down and desecrated sacred knowledge that was sent down from the ancestors.
And I feel like too, it's there's so much. I love this conversation we're having. It's beautiful. I'm really grateful for it. I love meeting people that are, you know, spiritually growing and like in a place of, like I said, just not only just entrepreneurship, but just having like an identity of who you are. And I always tell people like being your authentic self is your superpower, because no matter how many people have been born, there's been billions of people. Not one person's fingerprint is the same. So when you look at that, like that in itself just really shows you how unique you are. And so I think it's really amazing to see people who are them, because there's so many like-minded people that are just trying to be accepted. Everybody just wants to be accepted. Everybody just wants to feel seen and feel heard and feel valued and feel part of, right? Like
Right.
people want connection. People don't want to be alone. And connection is the opposite of a lot of things. It's the opposite of addiction. It's the opposite of isolation. It's the opposite of, you know, it helps with soul healing. But it's also, like you said, important to be careful with what you're connecting to and not just settle for, you know, people that are around you to feel not alone, because then you'll find yourself in a place that's just even worse than you might have been before. But yeah, I mean, knowledge is power. It's just really figuring out how you're going to use it,
Right.
right? And you can have all, I can know how to build a rocket ship. You know, I could be like, hey, Key, I know how to build a rocket ship. And you'd be like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Have you built one? And I'd be like, nope. And you'd be like, okay, well, what are you going to do moving forward? Are you going to build a rocket ship? And I'm going to be like, yeah, maybe in a year.
I'm gonna say, where you want to start at. I think it's important that when people say things, fear is like the first. I'm gonna be doing emotions or energy motions, setting up a pH scale, like a pH balance. So we got to know the pH balance of our emotions as well. There's toxic emotions, so I'm setting that up. This is a part of my, spirit healing. People getting their spirit cooked all day. So, they need a healing process on their cooked spirits. So to let people see the pH balance of their emotions that their ethereal body holds, they got to get their body in shape too. So that's a part of my plan to help people remember and upgrade their subscription. We upgrade our subscription to Netflix, Amazon, somebody YouTube channel, but we can't remember and upgrade our subscription to remembering who we are and knowing ourselves, so those are the type of things that I want to encourage people to do. Just know that, they say Jesus' name is Yeshua. Yes, you are beautiful. Yes, you are light. You have to have what Christ consciousness is. That's that light inside of you. People get so stuck on whether Christ was alive or not and all that, and they're not embodying a Christ consciousness. So we get too stuck on surface level stuff. We having an argument about something that happened 2,000. We're never gonna get past that. That's a stumbling block in a way. So, once we can understand some things, we can understand some things.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's part of healing too. Is just being able to let go, and in a way, like let go and let God, right? And finding that I had someone call it the sunlight of your spirit. Like God lives in me, God lives in you, and you know we all have something that's beautiful within ourselves. We all have something. Like I tell people like there's something beautiful about you, no matter what your story is, no matter where you come from, no matter what it is that you have been through. Like we all have something that's needed in this world, and we all have something. Like I feel like part of our purpose here as people is to be able to have that spiritual growth, but also to be creators. Like when you look around and with what you're doing, and we're from a creator, right? So we say the creator. We are all creators. We all have that gift. Whether it's you can build a house, or maybe you're a great listener to people, maybe you have a way to speak to people. What you're doing right now, content creation, the podcast, that in itself is a creation. Architect, what you're wearing, your clothes, your hat, my dress, like it's all creation from a vision. I know this is our first time talking, but you're an inspiration. Like, I can't wait to see what you continue to grow into. You definitely have my support fully. You're definitely a beautiful.
Too, if there's anything that I can do to help,
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And it's been a reason. And so, I appreciate your time. I appreciate your inspiration, humanity.
I want to give you so much peace and so much power. You're doing a wonderful job. You're a wonderful person. I
Thank
want to
you.
give you peace.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. It's been amazing. It's been an honor. Everybody, this is Key Norful. Again, he has the Nation1Luv podcast. Where is your podcast? It's on YouTube, correct?
Yeah, my podcast is on YouTube. You can follow me on all social media sites. Key Norful is my name, so you'll find me there, all on all platforms.
And I also just want to give a shout out to everybody that has supported this platform. We're going on year 2. It's been an amazing journey. It's definitely been a blessing to have everybody that spoke. And thank you for those who share. Thank you for those who listen. Thank you for Key and the others that have been on here that have spoke. And I always tell people, like, we all have a testimony, we all have a story, we all have something that we can share to help another person. So if you or someone is interested in speaking over Faith Over Fear, please reach out to me directly. And Faith Over Fear is available on YouTube, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music, and Spreaker. So we will see you next week. Keith, God bless your day. Thank you so much, and we'll talk soon.
Peace and power.
All right, peace and power too. God bless. Bye.